Look, scaling an agency is extremely simple, but most people overcomplicate it. The agencies that win follow a specific set of principles, and the agencies that lose fail to follow those principles. My name's John Danes. I scaled my agency from $0 to $2 million per year, and with that agency, I went on to close 771 clients and collect over $5 million in cash. And in this video, I'm going to share with you 19 lessons that allowed me to scale my agency so you can take them and implement them into your own agency. Let's dive in. So principle number one is that the agency business model, you really only have to do three things. You have to generate leads, turn those leads into clients, and then keep those clients for the long term. So at any point in your agency, you're having a very specific constraint that can only be one of three things at the end of the day. You're either having a lead gen problem, a sales problem, or a fulfillment problem. This means that the agency business model is extremely straightforward. If you're able to get very good at these three things, you will be a very good agency owner and scale very far. So it's a very simple business model. That's principle number one. Principle number two, going right off the back of number one, is that the worst problem to have as an agency owner is an appointments problem. If you have an empty calendar, you will never scale an agency. I have met tons of 7 and even some 8-figure agency owners, and they all have full calendars. Whether they're getting leads from paid ads, from outbound, from referrals, from events, really doesn't matter what the source is. They all have full calendars. So the worst problem to have as an agency owner is an empty calendar. If you have an empty calendar, you're not going to scale very far. That's the first problem you need to fix if you want to scale. Principle number 3 is that just do volume is a half-truth. So what do I mean by this? I mean that the gurus have told you, hey, just do a bunch of volume on outreach and eventually you'll get some appointments. But this is a half truth, because if your outreach, quite frankly, sucks, like if your messages are really bad, then by spamming those messages, you're actually going to hurt yourself a lot more than you help yourself. So your strategy with outreach should be high volume, high quality. And if you have to pick between volume or quality, I would pick quality every single time. I get cold DMs all of the time with people that literally are writing me and calling me the wrong name. They'll be like, hey, Jason, we'll install a system into your business that'll do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, dude, my name is not even Jason. This message sucks. You suck, right? At the end of the day. So just do volume is a half truth. Do not do volume really until you've validated your outbound messaging. So until you found a script that's really working, you don't really want to validate because you want to continue to test other scripts, see what scripts are working, and then figure out the winner and then scale it, just like with ads or really anything else in business or in your agency. So just doing volume is a half truth. Don't fall for that lie. Principle number 4 is that your problem, like the reason that you're not scaling, is rarely what you think it is. I'll give you a very common example that I've heard way too many times. And the more I hear it, the more I just want to pull my hair out. I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, look, John, I have a client fulfillment problem or a client delivery problem. And I'll say, okay, that happens sometimes with scale. Hey, how many clients have you closed in the last 90 days? And they'll normally say like 3. They're closing like a client a month, which by the way is horrendous. Don't let anybody tell you that a client a month is good. That is terrible. My agency averaged a little bit over 1 client per day over 3 years. So you really don't know if you have a client fulfillment problem unless you're getting clients at scale and you've actually run a lot of clients through the service. So, I go through this exercise all the time with some of my private partners at AC, and I ask them, I say, hey, would you ever take like this new experimental drug that had like a 50% chance of success? And they're always like, no, of course not. And I say, well, why? Well, because it hasn't been proven. We don't even know that it works because enough people haven't taken the drug. Well, your agency is the exact same way. So until you've run 50 or so clients through your service, you don't even know if the clients that you're doing well for are anomalies or the client that you're doing bad for are, these crazy exceptions. So you need to bring on a lot of clients before you even know if you have a fulfillment problem or not. But that kind of zooming out of that and going into the broader lesson is that your problem is very rarely what you think it is. And I would even argue a lot of times as an agency owner, if you knew what your problem was, you would have already solved it or you would be on a good track of solving it. So like if you've been stuck for the last 6 months and you think you know your problem, you might need a second set of eyes to tell you if that's really your problem or not. So before we get into principle number 5, just kind of bouncing right off number 4, if you want me to come into your agency and give you the exact systems that I use to close 771 clients, like literally copy and paste them directly into your agency, we're not talking about a course or some kind of mastermind. I'm actually going to be working one-on-one with you in order to implement these systems directly in your agency for positioning, lead gen, sales, and most importantly, automating yourself out of fulfillment. So you never have to do any fulfillment. Not only did my agency close 771 clients, but I literally never touched fulfillment. I'm going to give you all of the systems so you can do just that. So if you're an agency owner who wants to scale either to 30K a month or past 30K a month, into the hundreds of thousands of dollars per month, click that first link in the description below at agencyclients.com. We'd love to speak with you and learn if maybe we're a good fit. Let's get back into the principles. So principle number 5 is that you need to track your data and you need to let that data make your decision. So there's almost kind of 2 principles within the one here, which is you need to track your data first and foremost. Like you need to know the numbers of your agency. I know a lot of the partners inside of AC watch these videos and every single one of them can vouch. When they come to me with a problem, the first thing I ask them for is the data. Right? If they're like, hey, John, I'm not closing a lot of deals. I'm like, okay, specifically, what is your close rate? Specifically, what is your show rate? So you need the data to be able to make decisions because what happens is you sort of get in this endless loop, right? So meaning if you take 3 sales calls in a row and a super frustrating thing happens on all 3 of those sales calls, like let's say you get to the end, the calls are going great and the person's just like, no, dude, I can't do it. And that happens 3 times in a row. You will start to feel like, oh my gosh, everything in my business is broken. I need to fix a bunch of stuff. I need to change things. I need a new script. I need a new offer. I need to change my price. You can make a lot of these erratic decisions. You're working solely off your emotions. But this is a bad frame of mind to be in as an agency owner because you need the data to make the decision. So yeah, maybe you had 3 crappy calls, but you might look at your numbers and realize, no, my close rate's great. We're profitable. We have a lot of cash flow coming in. We're growing month over month. This is just an anomaly, right? This is just an exception. It's not necessarily the rule. So you need to track that data and let that data make the decisions because a quote that I love, I don't really know who said this, but it's the language of business is numbers, right? So we as humans, we might speak in English or Spanish or Portuguese or French or whatever language we speak in or Greek. But ultimately, the language of business is numbers. You need to let the numbers tell you whether you need to change your script or change your offer or charge more or charge less or spend more on ads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let numbers make the decisions and let data make the decisions because you are emotional. Principle number 6, one of my favorites, is you cannot outsell bad positioning. So this is something that I've talked about at length, but ultimately as an agency owner, you're really just playing the trust game. So what causes your marketing to work or to not work, what causes your sales to work or to not work is really how much your market trusts you. And that's not necessarily just meaning you need a ton of case studies. It means that you need to build trust in many different ways. Case studies is just one, but this can be through your website, through your brand, through your digital footprint, through how you appear online, through how professional your agency looks. Like, do you actually look like a real agency, or do you look like you started your agency in your mom's basement? Like, do you look like a real established agency? If you don't have these things, no amount of marketing or sales skills will help you overcome that, right? Because you're really just going to be swimming upstream, right? You're going to be going against the current, which is very, very hard. And really what I did with my agency is I kind of swam with the current. I had great positioning. I looked like the number one agency in my space, even if I really wasn't, by the way, right? I really did look like the number one agency in my space, even if I wasn't the biggest agency with the most employees, with the most amount of revenue, so on and so forth. I looked the part, which allowed it to be really easy to market and sell because people already trusted us. So ultimately, you'll never be able to outsell or outmarket bad positioning as an agency owner. Principle number 7 is to let the market tell you. Now, it's kind of similar to principle number 5 because that's let the data tell you, but the market will also tell you as well. So I've seen so many people that hold on to something so hard in their agency, and they would almost rather feel smart than actually make money. And this is really stupid, but let me explain it to you. They'll come up with a new offer, and they'll think that this offer is just so good. And they'll have 30 sales calls and everyone will say no. And they won't even consider for a moment that maybe the offer is not as good as you think it is, right? Like maybe you had a hypothesis, you tested out that hypothesis, you took it to the market and the market told you no, but instead you're so hard-headed and you're so stupid, to be honest with you, that you don't let the market tell you. The market is trying to tell you this offer is no bueno, it's no good, but you're not listening. So let the market tell you. But not only let it tell you, actually listen. Because a lot of the times the market is screaming at you, this offer sucks, this ad is bad, like you're priced too high, you're priced too low. If you just listen to the market and let that help drive some of your decisions, you will be in a much better position as an agency owner. My market was telling me that we could charge more. Even though I was actually kind of scared to charge more, I actually didn't listen. So we were charging at one point like $9.97 a month, and we got up to $14.97 a month, and our close rates were great. Like from the 50% increase in price, essentially, we didn't actually experience any changes in our close rate. The market was telling me, hey, you can bump it again and you're going to be just fine. And I was scared to do so because, again, emotional, not letting data or the market drive my decisions. And it took me a lot of time to realize, man, we can actually just double our prices and probably nothing's going to change. And that's exactly what happened. So by not listening to the market was screaming into my face, John, raise your prices, John, raise your prices, John, raise your prices. But I didn't because I didn't listen. Okay, so let the market tell you. The market is screaming in your face, telling you what to do. You just got to listen. Principle number 8 is to never just run one outbound channel. What do I mean by this? I mean that a lot of people start their agency journey by just doing one channel. Like maybe it's cold calling as an example, and then they only cold call and they try to build their whole business off cold calling without actually trying to do anything else, without ever trying cold email or cold Facebook messages or Facebook groups or LinkedIn or Instagram or any other outbound channel. They just stick to the one. But what I actually did that worked extremely well that I don't really see a lot of people doing is I tested a bunch of different platforms. I used the data. I tracked all of my metrics. And then I looked at which platform is actually working the best. And then I just allocated all of my resources to that platform. You can do kind of a similar thing when you run paid ads. You try a few different creatives, maybe a couple different funnels, maybe a couple variations of copy. Different people have different sciences behind how they do this, but you maybe see that one creative is doing really, really well. You wouldn't continue to kind of do this like socialist model where everybody gets a little bit. You would say, no, this creative is the winner. We're going to scale this creative and put more money behind this creative. And so it's kind of a similar thing that you do with outbound, right? You say, okay, I tested all these different platforms. I tested Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and cold email and cold calling, and maybe cold email was the best. Now I'm going to put all my time, resources, team, attention into scaling cold email as an example. So never just run one outbound channel. Try all of the channels. Use the data to tell you which one is working best, and then go all in on that one. Principle number 9 is a controversial one, which is if you do fulfillment yourself, you're never going to scale. We closed 771 clients in my agency, and I never once did fulfillment. That means after a client signed up, I literally never spoke to them after that. I didn't do their onboarding call. I didn't do their check-in call. I didn't get in and set up their Go High Level or their ads or literally anything. I never did fulfillment. It was automated from day one. And really, if you want to scale, you have no other choice but to do this. There are maybe a few fringe examples where this doesn't make sense. There's some exceptions to the rule always. But when making a video or talking about this, I have to speak broadly and generally and say, if you do fulfillment, you will never scale. Your main focus, and we'll touch on this in just a little bit, is and should be client acquisition. And if you're stuck doing fulfillment and you're wearing all the hats in your agency, you're going to be a freelancer forever, and you're going to be just decent at everything. You're going to be decent at fulfillment, decent at lead gen, decent at sales, decent at hiring and team. You're never going to be able to actually get good at any one thing in your agency. And because of that, you're going to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And so if you do fulfillment, you will never scale. You need to get yourself out of fulfillment from day one. Principle number 10 is to have the end in mind. I was actually catching up with a client who worked with me back in 2024 and in 2025 who has had extreme results. I was in Miami this weekend. We were hanging out and we got a little bit of lunch. And he was telling me, like, I don't really know what I want to do now because he's well above 7 figures a year. He's doing actually multiple 7 figures a year. And I like to think I had some part in that. Chris, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I had some part in that ultimately. But when I was talking to him, he was kind of telling me, I don't really know what I want to do. I'm not really sure, because once you get your agency to a place of leverage, you're really not doing a whole lot of work. You have the sales team cranking away, your ads and your marketing and your outbound is working, your fulfillment is working, and you kind of just have like a well-oiled machine. And I told him, I said, dude, you need to have the end in mind. You need to figure out what it is that you want to do. Like, do you want a CEO to come in and run this thing? Do you want to sell this thing? Do you want to just keep it where it's at and just chill? And maybe you don't even need a CEO. You're not working that much right now anyway. But you need to have the end in mind, like right now. Like, what is your long-term vision with your agency? What do you want from your agency? It really makes me angry because a lot of people treat agency like it's this sort of purgatory. Right? And I mean, like, it's this holding place. Like, a lot of people talk about their agency like, oh, I'm just doing this until like something better comes along, and then I'll go do something better. Or I'll go do coaching, or I'll do software, or I'll do real estate. That's such a stupid way to think about it, because the agency model is a very good model. I'm going to talk about this in just a second. It's literally the next principle. But the agency model is an amazing model with tons of leverage and tons of potential. And so unless you have the end in mind, you're never really going to know what you want, and you never really know what you're building towards. So as you're building your agency, you need to have the end in mind. Like, do you want to sell it? Do you want to bring a CEO in? Do you want a lifestyle business? You need to understand right now, as you're scaling your agency, what do you want from it? So principle number 10 is to start with the end in mind. Principle 11, and that is the agency model has so much more potential than most people really think it does. I hate it when people talk about the agency model like it's this purgatory, right? Like it's this holding or resting place until something better, because that's honestly the way people talk about it. I'll talk to people and they're like, well, I'm just doing agency right now until something better comes along, until I can start doing coaching or until I can start doing software or real estate or whatever. And that's such an incorrect way of thinking. Because as of right now, I'm filming this video, I know multiple 8-figure agency owners who aren't even big names, by the way, who don't even need to make content to grow their business. There are these kind of behind the scenes guys and girls who are absolutely crushing it. A lot of people don't even know who they are. My agency mentor, by the way, sold an agency for 8 figures and another agency for 9 figures. We're talking about like life-changing money through the agency model. So don't treat the agency model like it's sort of this purgatory, resting place kind of business until you got something better coming along, because the agency model has all of the things that good businesses have: high cash flow, low startup cost, recurring revenue, right? It can run with a lean team, especially now with AI. So the agency model is a phenomenal business model. A lot of people just aren't good at it. And so they're waiting for the next thing to come around because they think maybe it's easier. But you need to know at the end of the day, principle number 11, which is the agency model has much more potential than most people realize. Principle 12, do not remove yourself from your agency too fast. And if you do, just acknowledge the consequences, okay? The biggest month in my agency was $220,000 in cash collected. That's not contract value, that's actual cash collected. And by the way, that's normally monthly retainers. That's not actually PIFs. So that was like somewhat like 100 payments from 100 individual clients. That wasn't just like, 20 10K PIFs or 22 10K PIFs, which makes it a little bit more impressive. Sorry to brag, but I have to. Now, at the end of the day, that came down to me being on the phone because I was really good on the phone. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that I had 3 closers and I was still on calendar taking sales calls. So me pushing and me putting in that effort really contributed to that monster month, that big month that we had, which was our biggest month, because I was on calls, because I was doing what I was best at in the agency. And I learned this from a friend of mine who was telling me that Alex Hermosi, funny enough, actually didn't stop taking sales calls at Gym Launch until they were over $1 million a month. Now that might sound crazy because like $1 million a month, you don't have to be on the phone, but let's think about it for a second, okay? What activity can you do inside of your business that makes you more money than actually getting on calls and closing them? Like, especially if you're good, by the way. And I was very good at taking calls for my agency. I built the skill over many years. I built the whole sales process. And so there was actually nothing in my business that could make me a higher dollar per hour than being on those sales calls. And I actually did enjoy it as well, which was great. So I didn't just think like, oh, now that I have sales reps, I need to immediately get off the phone, because this actually helped my business grow faster. And if I would have stopped taking those calls, I was fully aware that we would make less money because of it. And so if you're going to remove yourself from a key area of your business, number one, make sure you do it the right way, but also realize in the short term, at the very least, you will probably make less money. Principle number 13 is do not run ads to get clients, or at least don't do it too quickly. Now, I'm kind of tongue in cheek when I'm saying this because we got a lot of clients through our paid ads. I did great with my paid ads. But the reason that I did was because we had first validated our offer and our sales process through outbound. So my first 100, or probably a little bit more than 100 clients, all came from outbound. And when you learn how to sell your offer and really validate it through outbound, your paid ads work so much better. So we had phenomenal numbers from paid ads, a very high cash ROAS, an insane contracted ROAS, very profitable paid ads. And I solely believe that was because I had validated my offer through outbound, because honestly, outbound is harder for one reason and one reason only. You're reaching out to somebody that's not even aware they have the problem that you solve. Like with paid ads, somebody is clicking on your ad because they're aware that they have the problem that your offer solves. Now, when you're doing outbound, people are not presently aware that they have the problem that your offer solves, or they're maybe not at least like super chomping at the bit to solve it. So when you're able to sell your offer to people who aren't really even aware that they have the problem, you know you have a very good offer, and you get a lot better at sales. So by the time you do turn on those paid ads, they work like 100 times better because you validated your offer through outbound. So principle number 13 is do not run ads to get clients, or at least don't do it too quickly. Principle number 14 is also related to paid ads, which is your cost per booked call. People are going to hate me for this one. Does not matter. Okay? Crazy statement, I know. But what I mean by this is so many people obsess over their cost per book call on their agency ads. Look, it's important. You don't want to pay $2,000 per book call. But what's much more important is your cost to acquire a customer. Like, how much money do you spend to sign someone up? What is your cash return on ad spend? And what is your contracted return on ad spend? So like, what is your ROAS per cash that you collect? So like, do you spend $1 to make $4 a day? Do you spend $1 to make $2 a day? And then what is your ROAS per contracted value? So like if your contract is $10K and you spend $1,000 to sign somebody up, well, you're making a 10X contracted. Like, that's very, very good. And so those are the numbers that are important. Your cost per appointment is not as important as those numbers. Because like for me, I would rather pay $200 or $300 an appointment with a $800 cost to acquire a customer than I would pay, $20 an appointment with a $1,200 cost to acquire a customer. Because ultimately you want efficiency. You don't have to have 100 sales reps. You don't have to have like tons and tons and tons and tons of leads at the end of the day, especially if the leads are bad. Like, a lot of agencies have this big lead quality issue. And I'm like, yeah, that's because the only thing that you're optimizing for is the lowest possible cost per book call, right? There's many changes to the funnel that you can make. There's changes to your creatives and your ads that you can make. There's changes to your whole qualifying process you can make that might increase your cost per book call, but will drastically increase your cost to acquire a customer. So at the end of the day, your cost per book call doesn't matter. Your cost to acquire a customer, your cash return on ad spend, and your contracted return on ad spend are the numbers that matter. And your cost per book call falls underneath those. Principle number 15 is that $30,000 per month is the real number. What do I mean by that? I mean that when we all get in the online space, we all aspire to make $10,000 per month. For some reason, that's the number. But when we get to $10,000 per month, I mean, at least for me, you feel pretty underwhelmed. You feel like, is this it? It's like that meme in SpongeBob where they go over, the little hill on the roller coaster. And then they're like, okay, is that it? Like, was that the roller coaster? That's how I felt, at least when I got to 10K a month, right? And so when you get to 30K a month though, that's when you actually feel what you thought you would have felt at 10K a month, if that makes sense. Because at 30K a month as an agency owner, you validate your offer. People want your offer. You probably have some recurring revenue. You're making a decent bit of profit. You probably have some team in place already. All the things that you did not have at 10K a month. So 30K a month as an agency owner should really be your North Star. I made another video about this as well if you want to hear me talk more about this and share more thoughts on it. But ultimately, the feeling and the business that you have at 30K a month is what you thought when you first started you would have had at 10K a month. So principle number 15 is that 30K a month is the real number. Principle number 16 is a simple one, but a lot of people have trouble with it, which is in order to scale your agency, you must scale your skill set. And I'll tell you a very specific example of this for myself. I could not scale past 50K per month taking sales calls on my own. Like, for whatever reason, we could not get past 50K per month. And it was like we were living in some sort of practical joke, because we would do I remember one month we did 49.8K, right? It was like $200 off, and I was the only one taking sales calls. And I realized hey, we're probably not going to get past 50K a month for whatever reason, the economics of our business or just the way our business is working. We're not going to get past 50K a month unless we get a salesperson. And so in order to get to 50K a month, I had to get really good at sales. I had to be able to get on calls and consistently close deals. But in order to get past 50K per month, in order to hit 7 figures per year, I had to get good at being able to identify sales talent, hire that sales talent, train that sales talent, and then get that sales talent on the phone in order to do the same thing that I was doing, which was closing deals. It's a much different skill set. So what got me to 50K a month wasn't going to get me to 7 figures a year. So if you're stuck right now, just realize what got you here likely isn't going to get you there. So principle 16 is that if you want to scale your agency, you must scale your skill set. So principle number 17 is that your offer should evolve with time. Specifically in my agency, we went through 3 major offer evolutions. We started as Charmander, then we went to Charmeleon, and then we went into Charizard. We were in final form, we were in final evolution, and that's when things were really easy. But the Pokemon jokes and references aside, the analogy is going to break now because we actually went through a lot of micro evolutions as well. But what do I mean by this? I mean that as an example, we would implement something for a client, like a specific client that would work really well. We would roll that out to all the other clients and we would start to sell that as a feature because it made our offer easier to market and easier to sell. If we saw, hey, most of our clients are just smashing the guarantee, like 95% of people are exceeding the guarantee by 20%, what would we do? Well, that Monday, we would then increase our guarantee, like literally the next Monday. If we figured that out on a Friday, that next Monday on our paid ads, we were going to increase our guarantee. We're going to make our offer more attractive. Because as we all know, the better your offer is, the easier your offer is to market and sell. So your offer should always be evolving with feedback that you get from your market and data that you're tracking. So if you can see like, hey, our guarantee is actually not big enough. Our guarantee is actually not aggressive enough. Make it more aggressive, right? If you know you can fulfill that, if you know you can back that up, increase your guarantee. If there's new features or new things that you're rolling out for clients that are working really well, add that into your pitch. It's going to make your offer easier to sell. So principle number 17 is that your offer should always be evolving, and really good litmus test, your offer today should not be the same as it is 6 months from now. So principle 18 is that if you're afraid of outsourcing, you're going to stay small forever. The best agency owners build systems and are good at delegation. So if you're afraid to bring people into your agency that take over entire departments in your agency and run them, you're never really going to scale, right? The difference between a freelancer and an agency owner, a freelancer wears every single hat and has a massive ceiling and a massive kind of income ceiling and a massive kind of capacity that they're going to hit where they're never going to make over a certain amount of money. And that's normally because they lack the skills necessary to build a real company. But the agency owners that succeed, they do not wear every hat in their agency. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the most success I ever had with my agency, I was really only the best at like 2 specific things, like our B2B marketing and our sales process. Like that was the only things that I was really the best at. And because of that, I got to focus so much on those things that I got better and better and better and better. And the better people that I had working in my company, it actually made our offer so much better. We got so much better results that then made it easier to market and sell. And it kind of creates a flywheel. So if you're afraid of delegation, if you're afraid of outsourcing, if you're afraid of building a team, you're going to be a small agency owner, or honestly what I would call a freelancer, for a very long time. So principle number 19 to close it out here is that client acquisition is the only thing that needs your focus if you're below $100,000 a month, right? So if you're actively below $100,000 per month in your agency, client acquisition should be getting all of your focus. The only question that you should be asking yourself each day, really 2 questions, is how am I going to get appointments on the calendar and how am I going to turn those appointments into paying clients? These are the only 2 questions you should be asking yourself every single day as an agency owner if you're below $100,000 per month. This should be realistically taking up 90% of your focus. If you're under 100K a month, I want to be extremely clear. You have no problem other than the fact that you are bad at client acquisition. I'm going to say this very frankly and very directly. If you're under 100K a month, client acquisition is the only thing that needs solving. And if your follow-up to that is, but what about no? The answer is no. If you're saying, oh, but what about this or that? The answer, again, is no. Client acquisition is the only thing that you should be focused on under 100K a month. Again, there's probably some small exceptions. Like if everybody stays for a month and people hate your service and you're like a chargeback machine and people just despise you, okay, maybe we need to fix fulfillment a little bit, right? But for that 99% of agency owners, the agency owners who are below 100K a month, client acquisition is the first thing you have to solve, because what's going to happen? You're going to get clients in. That's going to give you cash flow. With that cash flow, you're going to be able to invest in a really good team and also really good AI and somebody to manage the AI for you. What's that going to do? It's going to get you better results, which is going to bring you more cash flow, but it's also going to bring you testimonials. With those testimonials, it's going to be easier to sell and easier to market. You're going to be able to make your offer better and better. So you create a flywheel. Like your agency is this constantly evolving thing because you're getting clients in, you're getting cash flow, you're bringing on team that are making your service better, that are getting your clients better results. That's giving you more testimonials. That's giving you more proof. That's giving you more market leader positioning. That makes your marketing and your sales better. You have more money to invest back in. It's pumping more money out. It creates a beautiful flywheel where your agency is never stagnant. So if you're below $100,000 per month, you have a client acquisition problem. Hope you enjoyed the 19 principles. If you did, you're going to find what we do at agencyclients.com very interesting. This is essentially my one-on-one incubator where I take all of the systems that allow my agency to scale from $0 to $2 million per year, collect over $5 million in cash, close 771 clients. I take all of that and I just implement it directly into your business, right? So the things that we did to build market leader positioning. So our market actually trusted us before we ever even spoke to them, like the offers that we use and how we use those offers, our lead gen, sales, the fulfillment systems that allow me to literally never do fulfillment. I literally just copy and paste those directly into your agency and we guarantee your results. So you have absolutely nothing to lose. That's agencyclients.com. It's the first link in the description. And of course, I do work one-on-one with everyone. So we do have some natural kind of capacity limitations. So if you see spots available, go ahead and take one because I cannot tell you how long those are going to be available. That's agencyclients.com. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. You can also find my Instagram in the description below. You can DM me if you have any questions. I love you lots. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.